Welcome to another episode of another motherfucking podcast, the wokest podcast in the world. I am your host, Said by Paris. And before we get into today's episode, if you want to support the show financially, there are multiple ways you could do so. You can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/Saved by Paris, where you'll receive bonus episodes of the show for only $3.33 a month. You can afford that. That's cheaper than your coffee at Starbucks. So if you want to support the show, head on over to that. If you're looking for merch, of course, you can head over to my clothing store, hellraiser.com. Or if you're just looking to send a tip, then you could do so over on Cash App at $Paris 501. Of course, to support the show, it doesn't need to be financially. So, if you listen to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please can't even talk. Please be sure to rate the show 5 stars, as it will help us to move up in the algorithm. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's address the shit. Where the fuck have we been? Listen, listen. If you're not tuned into shit that I'm doing, then that's on you. You know, nigga like me got a lot of shit going on. And I might not have been doing the show for a bit, but I've been doing other things and we'll get into that. But as you always know, I'm doing all types of shit, all types of content, you name it. As far as the show, another motherfucking podcast, I did get burnt out. There was just too much on my plate. Um, and whenever anything that I work on takes a gets put on the back burner, I see a decline in content and just putting effort into it and whatnot. When that happens, I take a step back and I reevaluate, and that's kind of what I did with the No Motherfucking Podcast. Like I said, we wasn't cranking out content like that. We were taking all these hiatuses, and we would be solid for a couple months, then we fall off, then a couple months, and then fall off. There was a clear pattern going on, and so I took a step back. I did took a step back to reevaluate some things, work on some other shit. Of course, I've been making music still. That's always going to be top priority in my creative outlets. Saved by Paris on everything. I'm dropping projects, dropping singles. So I've been doing that, and I had the online clothing store Hellraiser, and kind of the same thing as the show. I stopped working on that for a bit, burnt out, lack of effort, and so I've been hitting that, getting ready for that. It never went away, but now I have a website. Now I'm cranking out new designs, and that's making a comeback too. So as well as the show, other things. I was working on Underground Sounds podcast with AJ. If you don't know what that was, if you weren't in tune with the shit that I've been doing, that was just a rap podcast. Not even rap, really creativity in any genre or any dancing and artwork and graphic design, anything creative. We were interviewing those type of folks. We were reviewing music on Twitch. We was doing some things, and shout out AJ, man. AJ, me and him mesh well together. We work off of each other well, and he made a big decision in his life. Him and his family moved some states away. They got some job opportunities. They're doing good. I check in with him all the time. So um, even though that's no longer really happening, you never know. Won't close the door on that completely. I was running the studio for a bit. I was having artists in. We were, doing songs and shit, and really trying to figure out what I want to do in life for 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 as far as work goes. Not as far as creativity, but as far as work. I know how to mix. I know how to kind of master. know how to work a studio. So I was playing with that for a bit, had some artists in, and that went, that went smoothly. But that studio was linked with AJ. It was in his house, of course. He had a room dedicated to it. Great setup, and when he moved, that was gone. So again, is what it is. Things happen for a reason, and it allowed me to kind of focus on some of my other stuff. Cause like I said, my plate was full, man, and so you take a little piece off here and there, and really decide what you want to work on, what you want to cook up. You know what I mean? And yeah, so that was just another thing off my plate. I created Masters of the Underground. It's a media outlet on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and it popped off, man. Daily engagement is very high. Followers continue going up, and I created a podcast to go with it. It's not a pod. Masters Underground is not a podcast, but it has a podcast attached to it, kind of like No Jumper. Um, and that's also now at the top of my list as well as my music career. And so, if you tapped in with music, that's my strictly music only podcast, only music content on the socials. If you're an artist, if you're making music, any of that stuff, I definitely encourage you to come tap in with your boy, get heard, get some playlisting going on, get some reviews, yada yada yada. And last but not least, but I also had, in the past year, created a fan page for one of my favorite artists, and really it was for fun. It was just because I was always screen recording his stories and unreleased music and snippets, and so I was like, what if I make a fan page of this guy? Because I didn't really know of too many active fan pages around him, and I'm not gonna speak on it. If you know about the fan page, you know. If you don't, you don't. But yeah, I kind of did that for fun. I actually earned some really great money. I made like 700 my first month. I learned how the algorithm worked. I was cranking out content crazy, crazy, crazy. Of course, that was for fun. That wasn't one of my serious things, and I've created a little community on it. So I tap in with it. I keep it going, but it's not at the top of my list. It's not even in the middle. It's way way down. It's just for fun. So yeah, that was kind of some of the things that I've been doing. That's why the show was kind of on the back burner, of course, and of course, I also got a new job. Your boy, he coming up. He coming up. He finally left Walmart. I felt trapped there for so long. I was there for 8 years. I felt trapped. I finally know what freedom feels like. I'm so happy that I left, and I'm just doing what's best for me and my family. I actually left to go work for a bread company. Uh, the hours and the pay allowed me to it was minimum hours with decent pay, allowed me to focus on other things, to focus on parenthood and my creativity outlets. Like I said, doing a lot of things. So I actually, like I said, I left for a bread company. I'm now working for the competitor with weekends off, making a little bit more than what I was. So like I said, man, I'm doing what's best for me and my family. And after feeling trapped at Walmart for so long, I felt like I had to show up. I had to clock in. I put so much time into it that I had to show up. But once I broke them shackles, your boy free. Your boy finally free. They can't hold you down. So yeah, and then also, 25. I'm 26 now, but when I turned 25, I started having back pain. I had to go see a chiropractor. You seen the memes, man? That shit is no joke. When you hit 25, that's when shit starts going downhill. So that was another one of the reasons why I left Walmart. I felt like it was just overworking a nigga, getting over on a nigga type shit. So, and funny thing is, working for the bread company, I do still stock at my Walmart, but I'm in and out. I'm not there 8 hours, 9 hours a day. I'm literally in and out the fucking door. So yeah, that's some of the things I've been up to. I went on a cruise. I married. I got engaged to my significant other, 9 years, the mother of my child. Finally did the damn thing with that. And yeah, and like I said, I'm a father, so that over all this shit, that's number one. So yeah, that's just some of the things that your boy been up to. That's why the show kind of took a back pedal. But we back, and going forward, the show will of course prioritize Patreon episodes. Will still drop periodically. Some will be the first 15, 20 minutes of a Patreon exclusive episode. And if you want to see the rest, you head over to Patreon. $3.33, cheaper than your coffee at Starbucks. Some will be full episodes. This is gonna drop in its entirety on all podcast platforms because it is the comeback. It is me explaining where I've been, where we're going forward. So that's here. So this is gonna be a free episode, and I'll drop free episodes periodically, of course. But if you want the full, raw, usually uncut episodes, like I said, go to patreon.com/ Saved by Paris. And like I said, $3.33. Cheaper than a cup of coffee, cheaper than that motherfucking Danish that you got at Starbucks. You go to Starbucks, you spend about $15 on food and drink. You get all this for $3.33. So yeah, patreon.com/ Saved by Paris. Enough with the plugs. Now y'all know what happens when you give a man a microphone and his own podcast show. Y'all seen the memes. But yeah, I did, we're not just gonna talk about what I've been doing. We gonna do an actual episode today. So I found this thing in the wrestling world that I saw today. It's very interesting. Pulling up the link, shit's like Internet Explorer slow. But I saw this thing where Paul Heyman he said he believes inclusive storylines is a place WWE should go, could go, and will go. And I'll read a quote before I speak on my take. But yeah, he said on I don't even know how to fucking say this, the Tetragrammaton podcast. Look, I know I can't talk about podcast names because literally no motherfucking podcast is a terrible name for branding. It's a terrible name for sponsorships. It has a fucking cuss word in the title of the show. That it's just not good marketing wise. But the Tetragrammaton podcast, that's a terrible fucking name. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Rick Rubin, like your name, cool name, but yeah, the podcast name is ass. So if you're making a podcast, if you're creating a podcast, please pick a decent name. This name looks like a fucking dinosaur. Tetragrammaton. Hey, free clout, free clout. You're welcome. But yeah, so Paul Heyman sat down with Rick Rubin on the Tetragrammaton podcast, and he talked about some things, and he talked about inclusive storylines is the way of the future. And so, quote for quote, this is what he said: the safe answer to sound intelligent is inclusive storylines. A transgender hero, a female that competes at the same level with the same marketing behind her as any of the male competitors. One that's not Ronda Rousey from the outside world coming in as a celebrity, but a homegrown Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Bailey, Natalia, any of these fantastic performers that we have on the roster, they get a platform as lucrative and that carries as much opportunity on a global basis as any of their male counterparts. That's a very safe thing for me to say. I wouldn't be wrong in saying that's a place we should go, could go, and will go. And yeah, and I agree with Paul, man. A platform like WWE who hasn't really utilized its female competitors in the past. Hasn't really. I mean, there's only three, maybe four black champions, WWE champions ever in the lineage of WWE's history. I mean, you got The Rock, Kofi Kingston, Big E, and Bobby Lashley, and so speaking from my personal experience, I would like to see um, more inclusivity. There's no reason that the females shouldn't be performing at the same level as the males. Sometimes I find their matches even better. I love checking in on when they have their Royal Rumble. Everybody loves the Royal Rumble. I love the female Royal Rumble. I love the female Money in the Bank matches. I love when they get in the Hell in a Cell, and I just love seeing that shit because it's so groundbreaking. And as we get more and more used to it, you'll start hearing less of the first. This is the first women's whatever match, and it's just become a norm, and that's where we should head. And WWE, or shall I say the wrestling community, is very toxic, very much filled with bigotry and sweaty, nasty, niggas that don't wash their ass. Uh, and when I say niggas, I mean white. The demographics mostly white. So, but yeah, you see these fat marks. That's what they call them, marks, and they probably won't take too well to Paul Heyman's comments. Especially with him saying a transgender hero. That's a topic on itself. So yeah, I do applaud Paul Heyman, and I'm sure even Triple H, who's kind of recently taken over creatively in the company. I'm sure they'll hit these milestones, and I'm all for it. But the community is gonna be, as always, they're gonna be toxic about it. They're gonna throw their arms up in the air and go on Twitter and tweet there. You shouldn't shove this shit in our face. I watch wrestling to escape that shit in real life. Like, the yada yada bullshit. So it is what it is. I think that's a great idea, and I think they should continue hitting these milestones and these first evers until it's just normal. It's no longer feeling like the marks say in your face, that whatever. And yeah, since we talking about wrestling, yo, why do black people why do niggas love Jeff Hardy so much, bro? Why do we love Jeff Hardy so much? I don't know, bro. Jeff's always has some soul to him. There's a segment on Raw where they're at this wedding, and they're playing some R&B, and you see Jeff in the cut. He's just dancing, vibing. That's a brother right there. In another lifetime, Jeff Hardy was a nigga, and maybe that's why we love him so much. I mean, he does the daredevil stunts. Everyone loves it. He got the armbands, the face paint. He's just cool. He's always been in my mind, one of the coolest wrestlers. And I don't know, niggas just love that nigga, man. I've made so many references to Jeff Hardy in my music. I have a song called Jeff Hardy. I have another song called Armed and Dangerous, which is a play on the armbands and him being dangerous with his stunts. And yeah, man, I don't know, man, but niggas just love that nigga, man. And don't this ain't a wrestling podcast, so I time and time again, I will talk about things that interest me on here. This doesn't really have the show doesn't really have a theme. It's not like you might watch one show and it's strictly gaming, one podcast like the Gaming Illuminati with the Black Okage and that group, strictly gaming, or you might get something that's strictly music like my podcast, Masters of the Underground. Check it out. We don't got none of that over here. We just vibing, man. Y'all send me topics. I'm gonna talk about it. It is what it is. But yeah, just moving on to the next topic. Bro, let's talk about digital footprint. Let's talk about the shit because growing up, adults always told us be careful what you put on the internet. Once you put it on the internet, it's out there forever. And then they went and didn't take their own advice. You got grandmas and moms and dads and aunts and uncles tweeting racist shit and sexist shit and transphobic shit and homophobic shit. They didn't take their own advice. They put that shit out there. They getting fired from their jobs. I'd love to see it. But yeah, let's talk about digital footprint. Cause like, a nigga can't even scroll on Instagram, bro, without seeing ass, without seeing titties and pussy, and it's all usually cringe. And don't get me wrong, I'm a straight male. I like ass and titties as much as the next straight male. But when you get on Instagram and that's all you see, bro. You scroll and that's all you see, man. And it just made me think about like your digital footprint, like some of this shit that y'all be putting out there. And this goes to niggas too, niggas with microphones on these podcast shows. Bless me. Niggas on these podcast shows saying whatever will go viral, saying crazy shit. And some of them niggas believe what they saying. I mean, you get like a nigga like Andrew Tate who believe what he's saying, bro, and believes in the misogyny and the bullshit that these people. Adam Ross, man, he's going on a fucking. He's in his Trump era right now, and too much dick riding on Andrew Tate from him. But this applies, to men too. But y'all gotta be wary of y'all's digital footprint, bro. Like, don't put it on the internet if 10, 15 years from now you gonna regret that shit. You know Kim Kardashian regrets her sex tape. Digital footprint on there forever. Y'all be having these videos saying the weirdest fucking shit, the cringiest shit, doing just it's TMI. Y'all be sharing too much, bro. And like I said, I like ass and titties as much as the next guy, but and I know you trying to promote your OnlyFans. I'm not shaming sex workers, but man, y'all need to. That shit is wild. And speaking of Instagram and the Instagram algorithm and the shit that they push, I feel like they don't push shit like this in other first world countries. And I'm not talking about like China or anything. China, of course, bans a lot of the content that you see. North Korea bans a lot of the content that you see over there. But I feel like other first world countries, like y'all let me know, like places like Europe and Canada, does y'all algorithm y'all get on? Is that what y'all see too? Is ass and titties? Because I don't even have to like this shit or view this shit. It's all that pops up on my shit. But yeah, speaking of Instagram, I also did. I spend a lot of my time on Twitter nowadays. It took me some years. Twitter's one of those apps that you try it and then you're like, this shit's wag. You try it again a few years later, you're like, it's not for me. You try to, I've gone through 4 or 5 times of messing with Twitter before I finally started liking it, and that's part of that's because you know people I'm starting to get engagement. I'm starting to engage with people with Twitter. A lot of my friends weren't on Twitter, so a lot of times it felt like I was talking to myself. But nowadays I spend most of my days on Twitter more than Instagram, probably about the same as Facebook. But yeah, I saw this thing on Twitter where Instagram algorithm apparently it's connecting vast pedophiles together. It's boosting pedophile network shit. And Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram. And one of the pictures I saw, and I haven't really researched this enough to know this is just another conspiracy, if this has some truth to it or whatever. But I saw this screen grab. And the title of the article is Instagram connects vast pedophile network. It says the meta unit systems are fostering communities the meta sorry the meta unit systems for fostering communities have guided users to sex content. Company says it's improving internal controls. And so apparently Instagram, as this article says, owned by Meta Platforms, allegedly helps connect and promote a vast network of accounts openly devoted to the commission and purchase of underage sex content. This is according to investigations by Wall Street Journal, researchers at Stanford University and the University of Massachusetts. And it says pedophiles have long used the internet, but unlike the forums and file transfer services that cater to people who have interest in illicit content, Instagram doesn't merely host these activities. Its algorithm promotes them. We were just talking about the algorithm. And like I said, for me, it don't promote that shit. I'm not no pedophile. I don't promote that shit. But it's promoting it to people that it's aware are pedophiles. And that makes sense. When you sign up for Facebook and Instagram and all these terms and conditions, and you're signing away, you're giving them so much information about you. And if you're a pedophile, that's on the internet. That's you gotta you gotta register. You gotta let your neighbors know when you move into a neighborhood. So all that shit's out there. It's not like you can hide that shit. So I'm sure Meta has access to that information, and so they're aware of which users are pedophiles, and they're pushing, according to this investigation, they're pushing pedophilia to these guys. There's guiding them to content sellers via recommendation systems. Uh, and this is all according to the Wall Street Journal. And so I haven't done no a full dive into it. Like I literally just saw this like 5 minutes before I turned the camera on, and so I definitely wanted to at least bring it up. But yeah, man, this is some crazy shit, man, and this is probably accurate. This is probably true. It's probably not a coincidence. This is probably man. And we was just talking about that shit. The algorithm and the shit is pushing, and apparently, like the pedophiles are using coded emojis such as pizza. You've heard of Pizzagate. If you haven't, look it up. Justin Bieber did a music video, and the song kind of alluding to Pizzagate, and it's a kind of like Epstein's Island. It's another network of for pedophiles. And so, yeah, bro, if this is if the- and crazy, even Elon Musk commented on it. He commented on one of the articles about this and said you won't find that on Twitter. As you know, Elon Musk bought Twitter, and whether you agree with his views or whatnot or what he's doing for Twitter or whatnot, he's a Twitter owner. So some crazy shit, bro. I hope that there's some man. I hope that's not true, bro. Because bro, like if it is true, why aren't we investigating this? Why aren't we talking about this? Why aren't we holding these people accountable? Why are we pushing? Why are we allowing? Why are we allowing Meta to promote shit like this? It's just when it comes to kids, bro, leave kids out of it. And this is one of the grossest things in the world. Pedophilia, rape, um, sexual assault, all that is one of the grossest things in the world. And if this platform is promoting that shit, I mean, that's almost enough for me to. If they're not held accountable, that's enough for me to want to not use those platforms anymore. And that's what we gotta do, bro. We gotta do shit like even if you enjoy Instagram and Facebook, true power comes from us. If one day we all decided we weren't gonna go to our job globally, I mean that would shut some shit down, but that would make them wake up. That would make them listen to us and hear us. If we all decided one day we weren't gonna use Facebook and Instagram, I mean, sh- decisions like that help alter history. And so, kind of moving on even to a more serious note, I hate to end the show on. I hate to end the show like another motherfucking podcast on something serious, but uh, let's talk about it. I can't really speak on other places in the world. And of course, as you know, the media blows things up out of proportion. But here in my hometown, there's been an increase of violence, of gun violence, and you can't deny in today's world there's an increase of all this shit. And in my city alone, gun violence continues getting worse and worse. I'm from Hot Springs, Arkansas. If you're not familiar with Hot Springs back in the day was where the mobsters came. It was where Al Capone came. It was when it was gambling before Vegas existed here in Hot Springs. And fast forward to today, man, the gun violence is getting worse and worse. Just the other day, there was a shooting at a park, bro. Back in the day, bro, OGs used to tell me back in the day, kids and moms and women's were off limits. And nowadays, it seems like there's just no rules to this shit. If you're at a park with your kids and you could be shot at, your kid could be caught up in the crossfire. Um, Not too long ago, a friend of mine, he lost his daughter, man. I don't know the full details of it, but someone in the house fucking let off a gun and it hit his daughter, man, his 4-year-old daughter, and she passed away. And you see stuff like that where just gun violence is at an all time high. You see it in the rap game. Your favorite rappers constantly being gunned down in their hometown. You see, even me personally, I've had lost so many friends to gun violence, so many since and it seems like since I've graduated high school, more and more people from my class are dying, and a lot of them have died from gun violence. And so it's a very serious thing going on. And I'm not sitting here. I'm not advocating for America to take away our guns. I'm not advocating for our Second Amendment to be revoked. I'm just saying that something needs to be done, and I don't know what that is, but it starts with a conversation. It starts with, you know, let's talk about it. Like I said, I'm not advocating for that shit, but I do think there should be some type of gun control. Something needs to change, and so I'm just tired of seeing innocent bystanders being caught in the crossfire. People who mind their business, people who are doing no harm to people, are losing their lives. And I mean, I could walk out today and get shot, and that's it, So shit kind of hits close to home when people you grew up with are getting killed, shootings at parks. I have a kid. What if I was at that park and someone decided to come through and shoot up the fucking place? Even more recently, man, this young man named Amir, he was kidnapped from here in Hot Springs. Amir was kidnapped from his home, from the front of his yard, 20-year-old kid, and it took them weeks and weeks to arrest the people who they know or a part of it, who via messages and that were being posted on social media of them basically admitting that they had something to do with it, that he was dead, and I hope that's not the case, but I mean it's been so long since we've heard from this kid Amir. It's been so long since anyone has seen him that I feared the worst. I feared that what they were alluding to in the text messages, the killers, the kidnappers, allegedly killers. I fear that's what happened. I fear they killed this young man, and so just like stuff like that, bro. Like in your own hometown, this shit hits close to home. So I don't know, man. There's something we need to do about it. It's something It starts with a conversation. So let's talk about it. Let's we own the future, bro. We gotta protect the youth. We gotta protect each other. And the dinosaurs in Congress, the dinosaurs in office, they're dying off. So it's time for us to take back our world. And so it starts with a conversation. It starts that sparks change. Starts, with getting policies changed. And yeah, like, I'm not the most informed on this shit, but I do have a platform, and so I'm gonna use my voice. I'm gonna, whether it's podcasting or music, I'm gonna talk about these things. So yeah, like I said, I don't like to end the show on some serious shit, but sometimes you got to. And so yeah, with that being said, you will see more of me. You will see more of the podcast team. Like I said, we took a long break. We took a year, really longer than a year. Our last episode, prior to some of the bonus episodes I've been dropping, our last episode was in February of 2021. So here we are in June. This is really the first official video since then. And so yeah, we took a long break, but we back. And one of the things I want to do moving forward too is we was doing these hour long, 2 hour long episodes, bro. And when you do episodes that long and you're not a full time podcaster, it really feels like a job with no pay, with no nothing. And I'm not saying we do this for money, but that's the end goal for everything. Everything you do, you wanna if you love it, you wanna make an income off of it for the most part. And so yeah, going forward, I want shorter formats. I want 30-minute episodes. I want to have more people on. People hit me up all the time asking how to be on. So we gonna figure out how to make that happen. Uh, you'll see more of me. You'll see more of the pod team. Um, send us topics, bro. Send us fucking topics. I could come up with topics, of course, but it's funner when y'all send me topics. What do y'all want to hear me talk about? What do y'all want to listen? What do y'all want me to look up? What y'all want me to research? Y'all want to talk about conspiracy theories? Y'all want to, let a nigga know. Let a nigga know. That's all you gotta do. With that being said, support the show. If you listen to this on Spotify, Apple, leave a 5-star review. Moves us up in the algorithm. We talked about the algorithm today. For this to work, help a nigga out. 5 stars. If you want to support the show financially, like I said, patreon.com/saved by Paris, you are guaranteed at least one episode a month exclusively for you. $3.33. What have I said? It's cheaper than your coffee at Starbucks. So patreon.com/saved by Paris. You get I'm gonna keep it real. You probably get more episodes than one a month, but you're guaranteed at least one episode that other people aren't gonna get that aren't subscribe to Patreon. So yeah, head to that. Head to hellrager.com. Get you some merch. I'm gonna have some podcast merch dropping soon. And if you just want to send a brother a tip, dollar sign Paris 501 on Cash App. Or if you don't fuck with Cash App, a lot of people don't. Buymeacoffee.com/saved by Paris. You can find me on everything at Saved by Paris. With that being said, this has been another motherfucking podcast. the wokest podcast in the world. We just getting started. So yeah, fuck with a nigga. Peace.